a lot of the guests that we have the opportunity to meet, I meet them because they're guests. This particular guest had me mesmerized watching him on television. 3 things he did the moment I saw him. First, he was black. Second, he was well dressed. Third, he told jokes as opposed to doing a comedy stage routine. And that captured me because I know Red Fox would tell jokes. And that was an era that had already gone by. And so the new comedians had a style. But this guy, he would tell jokes. Then the jokes were really, really funny. I didn't want to hear him talk. I just wanted him to keep telling jokes. Then he would do the stand-up storytelling. Right. But he could tell you a joke, and I was like, wow, I wish I could meet that guy. He was in California, and I remember whatever the show was, they bragged about the fact that he got his start at Venice Beach in California. I went to California shortly after and tried to hang around Venice Beach to see if I could see him because I was out there. But then God gave me the opportunity to meet him, and we've been friends a long, long time. Listen. Michael Colyar is in the building.
My man.
And he's got that chicken.
Listen.
He's got that doggone chicken. Mike, first, tell people about the chicken.
This is the chicken of love. This is my therapy chicken.
He said the
and they
chicken
don't allow
of
me to get on the
love.
plane without this chicken, girl. No, this chicken brings life. And
I can't say
the
nothing.
chicken has its own personality. It has changed people. Folks who don't even laugh when they see a big, black, well-dressed brother with a rubber chicken. And they go, what is going on
You
right
can't.
now?
It's hard to process.
By the time you process it, you have to first you get upset, then you giggle a little, then you laugh.
Yeah, you gotta think about
Are
what's
you
going
saying
on.
something? Are you trying to? Is he trying to say something?
that
They
came
done
from
brought
your
me
love.
a mint. They have
No,
delivered.
it's a cough drop. I think he's
Listen.
trying to be
Oh, it's a cough drop. Okay.
That's
I
what
mean, when
mama
you
over
on air
there.
and someone delivers a mint,
You know what?
I think they're trying to say something.
I cannot.
Michael Colyar. Mike, tell people how you got started in comedy, what drew you to it, and what was the Venice Beach story?
I'm gonna tell you all that, but first I gotta tell you I'm in love with the most incredible woman in the whole wide world.
You
I've been
tell-
married to her right now for 136 days.
I love that.
113.
113.
I'm,
Yes.
I'm too excited. 113. We get
Black
married
love,
November
baby.
4th. Y'all do the math. November 4th, and my life has been excellent and get better every day since I met her 17 months ago. And last thing I'm gonna say about this. This woman, and I apologize to my mama when I say it, makes a better salmon croquette than my mama, and my mama's held that title for 64 years. Now, what was your little question?
You might not be able to go back home to mom after that.
Congratulations, though.
Thank you, brother.
That's first. Congratulations
And
on
thank
that.
you. I really received that. My whole life changed because of her, and I never.
Because I
thought
remember you would say, I really got to find somebody.
the right one.
Yeah,
Because I
you would
keep
tell me
finding the
that.
wrong one. Both of us done bumped into the wrong one. We both been married twice before, so we got the practice out the way. Now we can get down to the business of the game of love, you know? And, I mean, just like what she did just now, she sent me a cough drop.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? That's what she does. She sits back and watches and anticipates my needs and then is joyful to serve them, and I'm hoping that I'm doing the same for you, baby.
Ooh,
You know?
y'all better preach that
Yeah.
thing.
Okay, now let's get back to me.
Listen.
Okay.
So, Mike, what turned you on to comedy, and what was the Venice Beach story?
Well, you know, I always been funny. You know, my entire life I've been just like, as a kid, I was funny, but I never thought comedy is something I would take serious. And then in high school, we all did a play. So I was in all the plays because I wanted to be an actor. That was my whole thing, is to be an actor. But I was always funny. And then in 1984 is when I saw this dude named Eddie Murphy. And it was something ridiculous. In 84, that dude at 23 had already done Trading Places, 48 Hours, and the first Beverly Hills Cops. He had created the biggest comedy concert in the history of comedy called Raw.
Yes.
It was also the biggest video at that time. And he could wear the hell out of a red leather suit. And he got
baby.
all that just telling jokes. And I was like, dang, I've been funny my whole life. But I didn't know nobody would pay money like that for it. So I went and got some Red Fox albums. And I went down to my mama's basement where I was living anyway. And I would stand in the mirror and play those records over and over until I learned Red Fox jokes so well that I could tell them as well as Red Fox. And then I started going around trying to do my comedy. And it always made me happy to do it. And the first day I did it was at a club in Chicago called the Knotty Pine. It ain't even there no more. It was one of the clubs where you go and get your weed and can sit at the bar all night and talk in the back room. They playing poker and spades, right?
Wow.
It was a hood club with a little stage. And I went in one day and this guy was doing comedy and he was terrible. And people was getting up leaving. He was terrible. And I walked over to the owner. I said, can I go up and try that? He said, man, wait a minute. This guy's a professional. He's even played in Milwaukee. You know, and I'm like, what? He played in Milwaukee. I said, but all he was doing was Richard Pryor, and he was doing it exactly the same as Richard Pryor, except he added more profanity. And then people was getting up leaving. And finally the guy came over to me. He said, man, how much you gonna charge me to go up there? I said, dude, let me go up there for about 5 minutes, and if I make them laugh, if you love me, give me $15. Not
Wow.
like if you love me. If you don't love me, you still gonna win, because if I fail, people gonna have fun laughing at me bomb. So you can't lose. He said, all right, man, going up there. I did 15 minutes, I killed him. All I did was Red Fox jokes, back to back Red Fox, silly jokes. Horsey's talking to the zebra, rapping to the zebra, trying to pick the zebra up. Finally, the zebra says, hey, what do you want? Horse said, you know what I want, baby. Now get over here and take off them pajamas. You know, so it was like silly, just silly, giggly little jokes, you know, but people were laughing, you know, and I think it was the one about the head. Well, this guy he wasn't a whole guy, he was just a head. And so he's rolling around the house, kind of bored, looking for something to get into. So he said, I think I'll go for a roll. So he rolled out the house, rolled down the street, rolled to the park, rolled up to this woman at the water fountain. And she was beautiful. He said, miss, will you marry me? He said, marry? She said, marry you? You ain't nothing but a head. And she gave him a little punt, you know. And he rolled away dejected. He felt terrible. He rolled back home, rolled to the house, rolled to the kitchen, rolled to the pantry, rolled up on the pantry shelf and rolled back and forth till he found a bottle marked poison. With his lips, he opened that bottle and drank it, tried to kill himself, passed out, but he didn't die. Woke up the next morning, he had a torso, a head and a torso. He was feeling good. So he slunk out the house. He slunk down the street. He slunk back to the park. He slunk up to the water fountain. There was a woman drinking water again. He said, ma'am, look at me. I have a body now. Will you marry me? She said, no, you ain't got no arms or legs. I wouldn't marry a cripple. And he said, please, ma'am, I feel terrible. So he slunk away, slunk back to the house, slunk back to the pantry, got back up to that pantry with his lips, drank some more poison, tried to kill himself, passed out, but he didn't die. Woke up the next morning, had 2 arms and a leg. Woo! He was feeling good about himself. So he hopped out the house. He hopped down to the park. He hopped up to the water fountain. There's a woman still drinking water. She must have been thirsty. She's still drinking water. Anyway, he hopped up to the woman. He said, miss, look at me. I'm almost whole. Will you marry me now? And she said, no, you still missing a leg. I ain't gonna marry no man. He said, wait right here. So he hopped back to the house, hopped to the kitchen, hopped to the pantry, reached up, grabbed the bottle of poison, drank the rest of it, and died. Okay, the moral of the story is stop or you're ahead. Okay, I was just doing silly. I was doing silly.
I told you.
Giggly jokes.
That was good.
But the magic.
That's how he hooked me. He hooked me with that kind of stuff. I'm like, whoa, doing, because I was watching TV and then, hey, Michael. I'm like, oh no, let him stay up there. Keep
But
going.
the magic of that was instead of the guy giving me $15, he gave me $30. And he took me to breakfast. And I had never heard of sunny side up eggs called 2 eggs looking at you. He said, give me 2 pork chops, 2 eggs looking at you, and a big old biscuit. And I got all that and double money just for telling jokes.
Wow.
I was sold. That was it.
You was
I wasn't
on.
going to never do anything else. So I did that at 10 little clubs around the city every week.
Wow.
So I think if I can get $30, 10 times, so I was making $300 a week doing little bitty clubs, and I was only doing Red Fox jokes,
Woo.
and then I started developing out from that. But comedy is healing, man. Humor is healing. If you can laugh through a thing, you can get through a thing. So I feel like we are very blessed, Coco, and people like us who can go around the universe, the whole planet, healing people, lifting people. I mean, something as simple as a chicken. And it'll be somebody, we was my favorite breakfast spot. I know that I don't think they advertise here, but it's Cracker Barrel. And no, I don't usually go. First, I wasn't going to no restaurant called Cracker
In a barrel.
You know, I grew up in the project, Chicago, Robert Teller Home, 4352 South State Apartment 909. And where I come from, we don't fool around with no crackers. And a barrel full of crackers. Oh, that's a whole lot of crackers. So at first, I wasn't even going to Cracker Barrel, but I love Cracker Barrel. So we was there one day, and what I like best is the photos on the wall.
Oh,
they
ain't
always
they
got
something?
pictures of white serial killers. They're all over the wall. They're all over the wall. And next to an axe. But anyway, I love the blueberry pancake. Blueberry pancakes, the blueberries so plump and juicy, you bite into them and the juice squeaks inside your mouth. And the pancakes so light and fluffy, you got to put syrup on them to keep them from floating to the ceiling. So we there one day, and we got the chicken.
And that's where you got that chicken from?
I had it with me. I brought the chicken with me. And there was an old white dude, Kurt Mudgeon type guy. He had on overalls. And you could tell he ain't probably even said nothing to the black folks in years. And he's sitting there by himself eating. And I squeezed the chicken. And he turned around and gave me a mean, dirty look. Then he turned back around and I did this. And you could see his body jiggle. Because you saw he laughed a little. He's like, it was like a little got him, right? And then a couple more times did this. He just left it alone. We just kept eating. He got up and he got ready to leave and he turned to us. He said, "You and that chicken made my whole day." Wow. And he walked away. And I'm telling you, I don't think he know no black people.
Wow.
But the healing power of the chicken, don't underestimate the bird, and you shouldn't choke another man's chicken, but that's a whole different story. Okay.
Police.
So we started doing that, and I started doing comedy, and then my friend said, come to the street and do street performance. And I'm like, I ain't no street puppet. It was two guys out of Chicago. And they said, well, come watch us. And they stood there and told jokes for 15 minutes in downtown Chicago. Ooh. And had a sack of money when they was through. I said, well, I think I could try it, you know? And I did it the first time. I made $5.85, and I was just in heaven. And so I came back the next day, I made $1.85, and I said, okay, I need to go do some homework. And they said, brother, your homework is in the street. And that's the lesson to tell comics. The work is on the stage. This is not an observational sport. This is a practitioner sport. To get good at comedy, you got to actually do it. You got to get out there and see what works, doesn't work, and have a gauge, right? So I was getting my comedy in. It was working real good. I tried that worked. I said, I ain't coming out here for $1.85. But I came one more day, and it rained. And they didn't show up because it rained. But it stopped raining. I said, look, all I need to do is make $15. And I'm going to stick with this. Man, I made $40. Wow. I said, okay. That was Friday. Tomorrow's Saturday. I'm going to the mall. So I stood in front of the mall. I said, if I make 40 today, I'm quitting everything else I'm doing. And at the time, I was a full-time student at Chicago State University. Okay. I was a single dad raising my son. I was an actor at a company called Free Street Theater, where 7 days a week we did theater. And also, I was a student at Chicago State University. So I was doing all these things. I said, I'm quitting all that if I get 40, shawty. And I made $84 that day. In like 40 minutes telling jokes as people walk back and forth to go to the mall. And I quit everything then. I said, I ain't doing nothing but this. And 4 days a week, I stood in the street telling jokes and passed my hat, and then winter came in Chicago. Wasn't nobody trying to hit no jokes on State Street in December. Yeah. So I packed up everything that fit in my 1967 Buick LeSabre. I sold everything else, and I drove to California, where I found Venice Beach. And I spent 9 years, 1986 to 95, doing 5 one-hour shows every Saturday and Sunday on Venice Beach. So we're going back May 17th and shooting it as a 1-hour special. We're building a stage that looks like a king's crown. Wow. I stand in the middle of the crown. It's called the King of Venice Beach. Oh, it's going to be fly. Oh, it's going to be crazy. Yeah, it's going to be bananas.
That's awesome, boy.
Yeah. He can hear that chicken like,
The chicken's happy.
You saw the comedians amongst your group, your peers. Mm-hmm. They were not doing jokes. What made you never turn from that?
Well, I love jokes, you know. So,
but they did a different routine, a comedy routine.
More and more people under the impression it's supposed to be a routine. That you're supposed to tell a story. Right. I teach comedy, and in teaching it, I teach it that everything in art is about 4 words. Tell me a story. So you're going to tell me a story, whether you're singing or dancing or poetry, whatever. the end of the day, if you tell me a story, you capture me. So in comedy, you should be telling a story. You should be convincing them of something you want to say, something you want them to believe. You know what I'm saying? So when I come on the stage, I do the jokes to get you. Like when I started on Venice Beach, I was talking about safe sex because it was 86 and people was dying of AIDS, and you couldn't do a commercial on radio or TV about condoms because they thought it was dirty in 86. But all you needed was a condom to save your life, but you couldn't advertise condoms. So I would stand on Venice Beach and tell jokes about the condoms. I had a six-pack, 12-pack, and an 8-pack. 6-pack is for Hispanic brothers. That's for making love Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, but off on Sunday. 8-pack, that's for your black brothers. That's for making love Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and twice on Sunday. And of course, the 8-pack, that's the white guys. That's the 12-pack. It's January, February, March. So if you do a joke like that, people who are uptight about safe sex, they calm down. They let their guards down, and that's when I could slip the information in.
That was brilliant.
You know, so that's the kind of stuff I was doing in Venice. And then what killed me is when I did that thing on State Street. What killed me is that white people, and I never really talked to white people. I was a kid, and the only white people we saw was when we went downtown.
Right.
White people would walk over and hand me money. I just told some jokes. They just give me money. I had to rob nobody. I had to look behind my back. I said, ooh, I like that. So when I got to Venice Beach, it was over. I became the king of Venice Beach.
Yes.
And I would have 700 to 800 people standing in a circle around me 5 times a day, every Saturday and Sunday. I would take home a sack of money. But more than that, I was connecting with people because then I could talk about my addiction because I'm an addict, I'm a crackhead. And I want to talk to crackheads so they don't have to be a crackhead. They can come back and look at me right now. I'm sitting smack dab in the middle of my dream, doing everything I've ever hoped or planned on doing. And I got the greatest queen in the whole wide world to walk through it with me. And that's because we can change our lives at any moment we choose. But what moment shall I choose? Let's come back after the commercial and talk about something.
There we go. Michael Colyar, who will perform at One Mic Detroit downtown, will be back.
Wait. What is One Mic? What is it?
What is it?
It's
Comedy.
the greatest new comedy club on the planet, owned by Mike Epps. Now you can go on to your career.
I thought that was exactly what I said.